It's a cold one this morning, but it's about 7:30 in the morning. I got little sleep last night because of Crash, my new puppy. So I'm struggling to acclimate. I've also got to go into work in a little bit. So kind of racing the clock right now. And apparently we feel really good today. I don't normally start off this fast, so this is a good sign. How funny is it that the most physically demanding part of my day is also the most peaceful time at this point in my life. I wanted to get out the door so bad this morning. And the shitty weather is also nice too because it keeps people off the trail, so less people to deal with. I just feel like being alone right now. Three and a half miles at just over 23 minutes. We're cooking. We are still cooking, ladies and gentlemen. You can probably dial it back a little bit here. I think I'm getting a little too excited for some reason. But when these days do come along, gotta take advantage of it. Mostly for the ego. I needed a little pick-me-up. Especially since this wind is fucking me right now. It's been in my face both directions. You can probably hear it, and I'm sorry. Alright, we got about 0.4 miles of hills, and then we're done. I saw only 2 people that entire time, and that's normally a pretty busy part of the trail. Hello. Hi, Crash. 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 Hi, buddy. Not bad. Not bad. What time of day is it? 8:38. I gotta be at work at 10, so... Oh boy. You know, with each day I do this, it just gets colder and colder. Fuck it. Oh, I need my watch. Alright, give me a second. Alright, we're gonna try to do 3 or 4 minutes in here this morning, and then we'll continue on with our day. It's about 35 degrees outside right now, Fahrenheit, because we're American. Ignore my now ghetto cold plunge. It popped, as you can probably tell, but that doesn't matter. It still works, still holds the water. When I was away in Oklahoma for nearly a month, I kind of fell off a little bit. What I mean by that was before then, literally for the entire month of October and going back into September, I was on it, man, and we're going to talk about that today. When you're away from home and you're on sort of a vacation, you start to slip, and I'm really just trying to get back on it now, and this is one of the little things that if I implement just a few minutes every day, things are going to be a lot better. Can you see my breath? Feet and hands are going right now. It hurts. What's funny is when I started cold plunging again back in October, for the longest time I was doing cold showers because it was just too warm here to get this water cold enough. So October came around and it started getting to a temp that I deemed to be cold enough. So I started doing it, but man, 4 weeks later, I might as well have been in like a sauna. This is so much harder. I can't wait for the snow to really start coming down. That's gonna be real fun when I walk out here and I need like a sledgehammer to break up the ice. And then I'm gonna look back on today and be like, man, I wish it was that temperature. 10 more seconds and then gotta get out and get ready for work. Oh. We did it. It's coming up on 9:30, so I'm probably gonna skip breakfast here, which is fine. It's pretty normal for me. And I don't do that because I'm lazy. I actually do it for a purpose, which I've experimented with for a while now, but... Crash! selective hearing. What's up, guys? It is currently 8 p.m. right now here in Pittsburgh, and in the last 48 hours I have witnessed the weather finally shift from fall to winter. I can feel it in my bones, man. Every step outside is getting pretty torturous, but I have some things I've been wanting to chat about, and I figured I would just pull up to Sheets right down the road, sit in the parking lot and do it here because, I don't know, it seemed a little more private in a weird way. It's amazing how alone you can feel, and there are people coming in and out all the time, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's kind of peaceful. I don't even know where I want to start with this, but I understand I haven't been the most competent on this site, and I come and go, and it's a very frequent thing, and for the most part I've always had that sort of personality. I've been working to be a more consistent individual, and I think with consistency you become a better individual as well. I think that the lack of consistency in pretty much everything I do is a direct reflection of just my lack of discipline, you know, but that's besides the point. What I'm trying to say is I'm sorry. You guys are always so supportive. I get so many DMs. I'm not a big channel in any way, but I still get a lot of support, a lot of private messages, which is even when they're public, I don't really know how to respond when somebody says something really nice. I just kind of awkwardly take it in and thank them. But I really do appreciate it. And I also get a lot of messages from people that struggle with anxiety and stuff like that, and they tell me what I am doing, it means a lot, and that means a lot to me, coming from a guy who struggles with a lot of anxiety. It's been really rough. There was a big change for me, and I'm not quite sure why it happened then or what exactly was happening, but this past February something malfunctioned in the worst way, and for months I was just in absolute fucking desolation. I think a lot of these issues go back from years of just poor decision making. I am the king of making bad decisions. If I'm supposed to go left, I normally go right, and yeah, things have not panned out in the way that I've wanted them to, whether it be with my art career or whatever. I'm not in the place that I want to be, but I've had the opportunity to fix it for so long. It's just very difficult. As you know, you guys are all going through your own shit. I'm not special. There's a lot of things that I have full control over, and I'm starting to respond to, not just on a surface level, but I'm trying to go deeper. And there are also things, they're really personal, but they've been a real issue for, I'll spill some beans. My parents, they divorced shortly after I graduated from college, so several years ago, and it was a horrible divorce. Divorces don't get much worse than this one, Lots of stabbing in the back, so much money lost for no reason.
these lawyers and these court systems, they just fuck you and they take advantage of the situation. And it's just like, if you weren't petty, everybody could have gotten off and lived a much better life, but it wasn't like that. And then people played politicians and they wouldn't speak what was actually on their mind, and they just made things so strung out and difficult. I was one of the people that, and two of my siblings, that we stepped away and we were just like, we're not getting involved in this anymore. This has been happening for too long. So many like issues that go way back we don't have to get into. The point is, we ended up getting fucked. I shouldn't even be saying this, but the point is, like, I don't really have a family other than like two people. Like blood family. One thing that's always frustrated me, especially since I've seen like the really dark side of like people that are supposed to have your back, and they choose money and sex, and they choose alcohol, and they choose pills over you. It just, you kind of detach. And I think the most adult thing that I've ever done was I came to terms with that really early on, and I just accepted it. And I realized, like, dude, there's no going back from this. And people tell me all the time, like, oh, you cut your mom out of your life, you cut your older sister out of your life, like, they're your family, you'll come back to them eventually. And I just look at them, I'm like, you don't really understand. And how could you understand? It never happened to you. There's been so many deep-rooted issues as well, things that have just been so frustrating, and no matter how hard you try to get away, they pull you back in. You always hear, like, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And then they just continue to play this game, and finally, after so many times, you decide, let's switch it up. Let's just not respond anymore. Let's just move past this completely. And they don't like that because they never expected you to actually have the balls to do so. So months pass, and then months become years, and then they realize it's been such a long time and they're still not budging. We need to step it up a notch. We're gonna threaten them. We're gonna make up things about you. We're gonna spread lies and rumors. You're gonna DM people that we know, like our friends, and say that we did this, we did that, just to get a rise. And they say they're gonna do this and that, and it just drives you insane. And then you consider going back just so it'll stop, and it drives you mad, you know? You lose your fucking mind. And then you start to think to yourself that you're the bad guy. You just don't know what's real anymore. Nothing makes sense, and you can't make sense of anything that's going on in your life. And then you just crunch into this lifeless singularity. There's nothing to you anymore. You're like a shell of your former self, and you're just riddled with anxiety and just confusion, and it's so painful. And you don't even really understand why it's painful for the longest time. And you just don't understand why it happened, why it had to be like this. All because of some petty adult beef that didn't even originally involve you, but because you were just caught in the line of fire, now you're getting fucked, and everybody on the outside that started it is not getting as nearly as affected as you are. It just isn't fair. This is a very long-winded way of me saying I got fucking sick. I got sick from that. I got sick from the bad decisions I made that led me to this point in my life. And I think what happened was, this February, that malfunction occurred because I just like went numb and just tried to ignore it all completely, and my body broke down. I went to my sister's track and field meet. It was in Lubbock, Texas. It was at Texas Tech. And I think this is when like shit hit the fan, because I was never the same after this. I was doing okay, and then all of a sudden that night I was standing there like on the by the bleachers, and I got so sick to the point where I couldn't stand up. And it turned out to be one of the worst nights of my life. We went to like this pizza shop afterwards, and you know, I hadn't eaten all day, and I'm just thinking to myself, it's really weird that I'm not hungry. And I've always had anxiety. I've always had like this ability to feel like what's going on inside me, probably a little bit more than the average person. So like when something feels awry, I can freak out a little bit. So I'm like, oh my God, I haven't eaten like in 24 hours. Why am I not hungry? Something's wrong. Freak out. I start getting really hot. You know, anyone that's had like a panic attack, you know what kind of starts to happen. And then out of nowhere, one of the sickest, most nauseous feelings of my life came over me. And picture this, I'm in a college town. I step outside. There's like this empty patio that was locked off. I hopped over it was like this little fence, like 2 or 3 feet high, and I just hopped over it and sat there and like tried to puke. Do I have food poisoning? I didn't know what I had. But anyway, I barely made it to the hotel, fell asleep, wake up the next day, feel off, but I'm doing better. Go through the whole day. I think I'm past it. I'm like hype. I'm like eating snacks again, drinking a lot of fluids. And then the same thing happened again. I got so sick, this time even more sick than I've ever been in my life. I had a 5 a.m. flight out of Alamosa that morning. So even worse, we didn't have a hotel because there was no point in getting a hotel really. So we were just going to sleep in the car, and I'm as sick as I've ever been. So I'm dying on this hotel bed that my sister had because the team was obviously staying there. It was a nice hotel. And dude, that was one of the darkest moments of my life. But anyway, get home. Wasn't fun. So fast forward a month later, we're going to Stillwater for my brother's 21st birthday. That's where my sister goes to school. And all fine. And then we're driving to go get food. And all of a sudden, I'm not hungry anymore. And I start feeling sick. Panic starts, like, setting over me. I'm like, oh my God, it's happening again. And we dropped off my brother at the airport. I'm like, I'm not going. It was really awkward. Drive back. And I'm, like, pacing around my room freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, this is happening again. This doesn't make any sense. I finally just whip up the courage. I'm like, I'm going. And I struggled through the flight. I got there. But basically, what began happening was anytime I needed to go and do something that involved leaving the house, whether it meant going like to Kennywood, like an amusement park or something, which by the way happened a few weeks later, I got sick the morning of, even though I was fine before that. My body was just falling apart. My mental state was completely declining, and the worst part was I couldn't explain it to anybody because I had this feeling like everybody thought I was lying, and it drove me insane. But I was feeling sick, and then basically every day that entire summer I was like battling that nausea, migraines every day. Maybe I'd get a day off every now and again. I've always been susceptible to migraines, but never like this. Migraines that lasted for days and days and days. And dude, I was really considering doing something really bad to myself. I was like not well. Not to mention you have like what's left of like the real family members. They die, and then you start to realize like how small your circle really is. All these people that you think of like during your happiest times of your life, they're not there anymore. I've always been a really isolated person, but this really isolated me. So I stopped uploading to YouTube. I was just like giving up on life. I tried to continue drawing, but I still managed to like finish like a really big piece, which was a big deal. You should check it out. It's in Easter Island Head. But everything became a struggle, and I didn't want to do anything anymore. I just figured this was it. This is my shitty fucking life. And then I just had this epiphany. I'm like, I can fight back. I didn't want to exactly pursue this in a traditional sense because when I was younger, I too was, hyped up on medication. I saw how nasty pills are, all throughout like middle school, high school, and college. I was on like antidepressants, like anti-anxiety, Atarax, Zoloft, lorazepam. Lorazepam's like my favorite drug I've ever had in my life. Honestly, I don't know if I was addicted or if you can get addicted to it, but man, if I could have that every day, I think it'd be really I'd be very tempted if that pill bottle was in front of me, because what these pills do is they fix the problem at surface level. Oh, you're feeling something you don't like? Let's have a pill, and you're not going to feel that at all. But also, you're not going to feel anything at all. So basically, I just get all like ditzy and I don't give a fuck about what people say or what I'm doing because I don't feel anything. I don't want that. Some people might want that. That's why people drink. That's why people are alcoholics. That's why people abuse drugs. I don't fucking want that because it sucks. And you know what? I saw what it did to my mom. I saw what it did to other people in my family. People that I thought had my back, but in reality, they don't give a fuck because they got fucked by these stupid corporations that just take advantage of you. And I'm not shitting on like the medical field, but I'm saying they definitely have the tendency to overprescribe things when the reality is there is a baseline to living and like being a human. And the way we live now as a society, I don't want to get too far out here, but like we're not living like normal human beings anymore. It's a no wonder why I'm sick and why so many others are fucking sick. And it's really frustrating, but it's also one of the freest feelings when you realize that you have the opportunity and the ability to change that at any given moment. And that's kind of what I realized one night. And it wasn't like I looked up at the sky and saw a shooting star and I'm like, oh my God, this is the moment. I just realized it. It was just a lapse, where I wasn't on my phone, or I was actually like present for once. I was just breathing and probably staring at my ceiling. I don't exactly remember, but I just thought, man, if I make these incremental changes to my life, let's see what happens. And I've always been an avid journaler. I journal everything. I write down everything, and now I make it a point to really get down into the nitty-gritty. What I'm eating, how I'm feeling, what I did that day, when I woke up, when I went to sleep. I think that's so important. So I kind of wanted to talk about a few of these things. And I'm definitely talking for a while, so bear with me. If you're still here, I love you. So back in September, I put this to the test. I said, I'm not going to be this theorist anymore. I'm going to start doing things. I'm going to start taking more action. And I'm not a perfect person anymore. I slip all the time. In fact, I was traveling in Oklahoma. I was in Oklahoma for 3 weeks this month, and I slipped quite a bit. So now I'm getting back on track. But the entire month of October was one of the best months of my life. I went from having migraines every single day, just like constant anxiety, just like pretty depressed. I mean, like if I'm depressed, I can still function. I'm not one of those people that get like bedridden, fortunately. I feel for you though. I can get more into this in the future, but I started running again, which has been really nice, but not putting as much emphasis on competing. It's just like I go out in the mornings and I just run a few miles at my leisure, take in the sun, take in the wind, really feel what's going on. Stretching for over a month, for about 40 days straight, I was stretching for 45 minutes to an hour every day. My body was opening up. I was feeling so much better. I started meditating, and I hate that word. I always like cringe at that word meditation for some reason, but it feels so good to like sit there and breathe, shut your eyes, and just like sit there in silence. That's one of the things I've been slipping on, but just I would sit there for like 30 minutes at times, twice a day. I did that for a little bit, and my God, what it did for me, it was just incredible. Just breathing in general when you get all worked up, and the stretching and focusing on what I'm eating. That's my worst one. I still have a really bad sweet tooth, but eating like these Japanese sweet potatoes. I looked into people who got migraines and people with anxiety, and a lot of these countries that aren't even like what you would consider first world, they have much lower rates in these diseases than we in our Western, more advanced societies do. And a lot of it really comes down to what they're eating. Vegetables, lots of greens. I force myself to eat like just plain salads all the time, no dressing like a psychopath. Japanese sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes are like my main course all the time now. Like Japanese sweet potatoes are some of the sweetest, most tasty, rich, nutrient dense things on earth, and it makes me really excited to be trying new things. Also, ice bathing every day. If the ice bath isn't cold enough, now that it's getting colder, it's nicer to use, but like during like September, it's not quite that cold out. I hop in the shower and turn it all the way down, just freeze my ass off. Journaling once again, and just being like fucking present for a change. And I'm doing so much better now, and I think I don't have my journal with me. I actually have to go get one from Barnes & Noble after this because I just ran through mine. I had maybe 2 migraines in all of October, and I credit that to these changes that I made. These little incremental changes, they all add up, and it's been incredible. And I'm just ready to see like what's next. And it just, for the first time in such a long time, I feel like excited. I feel like there's hope. I feel more well-rounded. I've been reading, I've been like sketching more and trying to get off my phone. I still stumble a lot with that. That's the fun part, you struggle through all these things, and you fight pain with pain, right? There's good pain and bad pain, and I'm choosing different pain this time. I don't want this to come off as like a pity party in any way, but these are just things that have been going through my mind for a while, and it's been a struggle. But I want you to, hopefully whoever's listening, that you can change things, and I still have so much work to do. I think the baseline for what it is to be a human, I'm still not even close to it. I think very few people are actually at that baseline, and even fewer, far fewer, are above that. Maybe like David Goggins or something, I don't know. But I'm working to get to that baseline right now. Right now I still feel like a little worm just navigating this earth, with not much mindfulness, little discipline. I'm just kind of there. I'm just existing, and that's not cool. And I think there's so much more to life. And I'm tired of like being just this passenger. I want to be the driver. I want to be the one making decisions and not letting things come to me. I want to be on the offensive and kicking the shit out of these fucking demons, man, because they suck. They suck, man. I'm sure more migraines and more panic attacks and more nausea and whatever have you, bad thoughts will come along, but I feel like I've seen the worst of the worst, at least the worst in my life thus far. I feel like I'm equipped to handle these things now. That's the good thing about going through shit, right? That's why you train for races. You go through all those difficult workouts so you can weather the storm during the race and run a PR or whatever. Anyway, I've talked a lot here, but the point is, I've been sick. But one day I'm not going to be. And that fires me the fuck up. What was making me sick was my mind. And for whatever reason, this time it decided to manifest itself in a physical way, and it was so unbearably painful. Like, I can't even begin to describe how, like, painful it got. It's so weird. I used to think, like, when people talked about, oh my gosh, like, I have depression, it hurts so bad, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, shut up. What are you talking about? These things get so painful if you let them just pile up, and that's what happened to me. Every morning I just expect to wake up and it's going to be the same miserable day, and what do you know? It manifests, and manifests, another stupid cringy word, but it's true. It manifests in like this physical form, and I get a migraine, and then I'm like, oh, here it comes. Oh, I'm depressed now. A migraine, day's ruined. It's gonna last for 2 days. What's the point? Oh, migraine's connected to the gastrointestinal system. Here comes the nausea. You are what your thoughts are, right? You have the power to shift things, and I'm starting to learn that. I hope you guys are doing well, though. I wish you guys nothing but the best. Thank you all. Goodbye.